You're 9 years old, watching your mom walk out the door, leaving you with nothing but a broken heart. Fast forward 20 years, you've built a life, a career, a fortune. Then, out of nowhere, she shows up, demanding your money for her spoiled son. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Stick around because this story of betrayal, manipulation, and sweet, sweet revenge will leave you speechless. If you've ever felt betrayed by someone who was supposed to love you, or if you've dreamed of serving justice to those who underestimated you, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of this jaw-dropping family drama. Trust me, you're not ready for how this one ends. Let's take you back to 2004. Julia Foster was just 9 years old, living in a small, cozy house in suburban Ohio. Picture a little girl with pigtails, sitting on a worn-out couch, clutching a stuffed bunny named Mr. Flops. Her dad, David, was her rock, a quiet, hard-working mechanic who always smelled faintly of motor oil. But her mom, Marie Stone, well, Marie was a different story. Marie was the kind of woman who turned heads. Blonde hair always perfectly curled, nails painted cherry red, and a laugh that could fill a room. But behind the charm was a cold edge. Julia remembers the fights, her mom's voice sharp as a knife, yelling at David about money, about dreams, about wanting more. One night, Julia woke to the sound of slamming doors. She crept to the stairs, her small hands gripping the banister, and saw her mom's silhouette in the doorway. "I'm done with this life," Marie spat. "You're holding me back, David. And her? She's just baggage." Julia's heart stopped. Baggage? That's what she was to her own mother? The door slammed, tires screeched, and Marie was gone. Julia sat on the stairs, tears soaking Mr. Flops, as David found her and pulled her into a hug. "It's just you and me now, kiddo," he whispered. And for years, that's how it was. Fast forward to 2024. Julia, now 29, had clawed her way to success. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. After high school, she'd put herself through college, majoring in data analytics. By 27, she'd landed a senior role at a tech firm in Chicago, pulling in a 6-figure salary. Her apartment was a sleek, modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. She'd traded Mr. Flops for a minimalist decor vibe, but she kept one photo on her desk, her and David, laughing at a county fair, ice cream smeared on their faces. Julia's life wasn't perfect. She worked long hours, and the sting of her mom's abandonment never fully faded. But she was proud. She'd built this life without Marie. David, now retired, lived nearby, and they'd have dinner every Sunday, swapping stories over his famous lasagna. Julia thought she'd left the past behind, until one crisp October morning when her phone buzzed with an unknown number. Julia picked up expecting a work call. Instead, a voice she hadn't heard in 20 years slithered through the line. "Julia, honey, it's Mom." Her stomach dropped, like she'd just stepped off a cliff. Her hands shook as she gripped the phone, her coffee going cold on the counter. "What do you want?" she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Marie's tone was syrupy, like she was trying to sell something. "I've missed you, sweetheart. I want to make things right. Can we meet?" Against her better judgment, Julia agreed. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was that little girl still hoping for answers. They met at a coffee shop downtown. Julia arrived early, her heart pounding, palms sweaty. When Marie walked in, it was like seeing a ghost. She was older now, lines around her eyes. Hair dyed a brassy blonde, but her smile was still calculated, like a predator sizing up prey. And she wasn't alone. Trailing behind her was a lanky, smug-looking teenager in a designer hoodie. "This is Caleb," Marie said, gesturing to him like he was a prize. "Your half-brother." Julia's mind reeled. Half-brother? She hadn't even known Marie had another kid. Caleb barely looked up from his phone, muttering a half-hearted, "Sup." They sat down and Marie wasted no time. "Julia, you've done so well for yourself," she cooed, her eyes flicking over Julia's tailored blazer. "I always knew you'd be something special." Julia's jaw tightened. She could feel the manipulation coming, like a storm on the horizon. "Cut to the chase, Marie." Marie's smile faltered, but she leaned in, her voice low. "Caleb's been accepted to an elite college. It's $60,000 a year for tuition, and well, we need your help. Your family, after all." Julia blinked, stunned. "You want me to pay $60,000 for a kid I've never met?" Caleb finally looked up, smirking. "Yeah, well, you're loaded, right? Mom says you're some big-shot analyst. What's 60 grand to you?" Julia's blood boiled. She could feel the heat creeping up her neck, her fingers digging into her palms. "You left me when I was 9, she said, staring at Marie. "You don't get to show up now and demand my money." Marie's face hardened. "I made sacrifices, Julia. I had to leave to find myself. But Caleb deserves a future. You owe us." "Owe you?" Julia's voice cracked, loud enough that heads turned in the coffee shop. "You called me baggage. You abandoned me. I owe you nothing." Julia thought that was the end of it. She walked away, shaking, and blocked Marie's number. But a week later, she got an email from David. It was off. The tone was formal, not like her dad at all. "Julia, I think you should help your mom and Caleb. Family is family." Her gut twisted. David would never say that. She called him immediately. "Dad, did you send me an email about Marie?" David was confused. "What?"
"No, honey, I didn't." Julia's heart sank.
She logged into her dad's email and found the truth. Someone had hacked it. The sent folder showed messages to her, crafted to guilt her into giving money. The IP address traced back to a library near Marie's address. It got worse. Julia checked her bank account and noticed unauthorized login attempts. Someone had tried to access her. Savings, hundreds of thousands. She'd saved over years of hard work. Her hands shook as she changed her passwords, her breath coming in short, panicked bursts. Marie wasn't just asking for money. She was trying to take it. Julia sat in her apartment that night, staring out at the Chicago skyline. Her reflection in the window looked tired, but her eyes burned with something new. Resolve. She wasn't that scared little girl anymore. She'd built this life, and no one, not Marie, not Caleb, was going to take it from her. She called her lawyer, Sarah, a sharp-witted woman who'd helped her with a contract dispute years ago. "I need to protect myself," Julia said, her voice steady. "And I need them to pay for what they've done." Sarah didn't hesitate. "Let's hit them where it hurts." Julia and Sarah dug deep. They hired a private investigator who uncovered Marie's pattern of grift. She'd been living off wealthy boyfriends for years, using Caleb as a prop to guilt them into funding her lifestyle. The PI found evidence of Marie's library logins linking her to the email hack. They also discovered Caleb had been bragging on social media about getting rich off my sister. His plan was simple but devastating. First, she secured her accounts with two-factor authentication and froze her credit. Then, Sarah filed for a restraining order against Marie and Caleb, citing harassment and attempted fraud. The evidence was airtight. Hacked emails, login attempts, even texts between Marie and Caleb plotting to milk Julia for all she's worth. But Julia didn't stop there. She knew Marie cared about one thing, her reputation. So, she tipped off a local journalist who ran a blog exposing scams. The story went viral in their small Ohio town. Local woman tries to scam estranged daughter. Marie's social circle, already shaky, crumbled. Friends stopped calling. Caleb's college rescinded his acceptance after the scandal broke, citing character concerns. Neighbors whispered. Stores turned them away, and Marie's carefully curated image shattered. A year later, Julia got a call from her Aunt Lisa, who'd cut ties with Marie long ago. "You should see them now," Lisa said, chuckling. Marie's holed up in a dingy apartment, and Caleb's pumping gas for minimum wage. They're the town laughingstock. Julia leaned back in her office chair, a slow, satisfied smile spreading across her face. Her chest felt light, like she'd finally exhaled a breath she'd held since she was 9. She'd protected her life, her future. And Marie and Caleb? They'd gotten exactly what they deserved. Nothing but their own shame. Julia's story isn't just about revenge, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about choosing who gets to be your family, not by blood, but by love and respect. Julia found that in her dad, her aunt, her friends. Through therapy, she healed old wounds. And with her new charity for struggling kids, she's making sure no one else feels like baggage. Sometimes, the best revenge is living well and lifting others up along the way. Wow, what a story! If Julia's epic comeback gave you goosebumps, smash that like button and tell us in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Subscribe and hit the bell for more stories that'll keep you glued to your screen. See you next time!